Hi everyone, my name is Janz, and you're listening to the Get Inspired Talks podcast. For this episode of the Get Inspired Talks podcast, we visit with Ryan Cantelon and my wonderful daughter, Jessica Janz. Ryan and Jessica started Share Plates, which is a monthly gathering of 10 strangers from all walks of life who cut the small talk and share their experiences and a piece of themselves. Jessica says in this age of social media and over networking, they are creating an organic setting to have real connection and conversation without any kind of ask or expectation. Just real people sitting across from each other, sharing their personal perspective. If you enjoy the Get Inspired Talks podcast, please make sure you leave a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening on. That's the best way you can help us help others find the show. Now please help me welcome Ryan Cantelon and Jessica Janz to the Get Inspired Talks podcast.
So our Share Plates is a monthly dinner that Ryan and I host at his work studio. Each of us invite 4 people who don't know each other from different areas of our life. And we invite them for dinner. And the only rule is that you're not allowed to say what you do for work. And Ryan and I prepare questions for the evening so that everyone's part of the same conversation for the whole dinner. So we kind of have 2 baskets. One is sort of the icebreaker question box that we get into right away as people show up. And then we have sort of a deeper life box as the evening goes on, as we sit down for dinner. Ryan and I attempt to cook. It's been, I would say, 11 for 11 on there was one bad chicken.
No real complaints, but
we had some undercooked crock pot potatoes for one meal.
Neither of us are particularly chefs, but we like to just sort of serve a family style dinner and have everybody show up and sit and sort of relate to one another on any kind of topic other than work. And it's really kind of fascinating when you put that many strangers together and nobody knows what level anybody else is on or anything like that. And it's just sort of talking about life in general. But I had been invited to one, a girlfriend of mine, a client of mine, she had moved to New York. She had been invited to one there. And as she moved back to Toronto, she thought the city needs more of this. And so she sent me an invite. I really had no idea what I was getting into. The invite was pretty vague. Like I said, as soon as I walked in the door, she said, okay, the only rule is don't talk about work. And she started sort of steering that she would read the questions. So she would kind of dictate how the night was going to go, like a light question, a heavy question, that kind of thing. Anyway, I loved it. People told very interesting stories. It was fascinating what people brought to the table. And I, of course, was telling my clients about it. And back then, Jess was a client, is still, but was a client of mine, one of the ones that I told all about it. And she was the first one that said, I would do that with you. That sounds great. She's like, we should do this. And I was like, yeah, you need a co-host, and so that there's strangers from somebody else's, circle. And so I said, okay, we should do it. I have the studio space. Let's do it here. So she said, okay, let's get a date in the books and invite 4 people each and see what happens.
You make me sound like such a doer when both of us are such ideas people. And
yeah,
I don't know, somehow I come out sounding very
I was talking all about it, and she was kind of like, let's just pick a date. And we finally did months later and set a giant table, and there's sort of that build up a couple hours before, who's going to come from, I don't know who she's invited. She doesn't know who I've invited. Are they going to gel? Are they, are they going to think this is cool? Or but it never ceases to amaze us how people sort of come with open minds to it and get into it. And each one is very different, and it's been really cool.
Well, I think that I'm a really empathic, closeted introvert. And so small talk is really exhausting for me, but I love connecting with people on a deeper level. I would rather talk to someone about what they think the meaning of life is, or, their relationship with their siblings, or, if they think love exists, or if you have a soulmate, any of those questions. I would rather talk about any of those serious questions than what people did that week or what restaurant is cool is way, like, those deeper questions are way more fulfilling and life-giving to me. Like, I'll skip home on a cloud, like having really intense conversations. So the idea of, like, as I guess, like, as a more introverted person, like the idea of like a party, like a party scenario or dinner or like social event can be a little bit stressful for me, of just like, that's a lot of work and that's a lot of being on and making sure that I'm not too intense and all of that kind of stuff. So to hear that instead of just talking to the person beside you and hoping that you hit it off with them and that you find some common grounds, that you're asking these questions and you're sitting and everyone's listening and part of the same conversation the entire night, and that you're actually getting to know someone instead of spending 4 hours at a dinner and maybe not even sharing any part of yourself.
I remember you saying that when we first talked about it, that you liked to bring people from different aspects of your life together, but throwing a party or inviting them all to your birthday or something could often be awkward. Like, there's tons of small talk. You never know who's going to end up chatting away in the corner or not mixing at all, you know? So,
well, and even like my birthday, I get stressed out because I'm like, what if people don't get along? Not that no one's like abrasive or aggressive or something, but just like, what if they don't hit it off, or everyone's nervous or isn't having fun because they don't feel comfortable or at home or something like that. And so there's something about sort of the magic of the evening and asking
a little bit guided and sort of like giving each person, like, here's the topic. Everybody gets their chance to speak, and we really ask people to focus as much on sharing as on listening. And it's kind of neat getting 9 different perspectives other than your own around the table. What was interesting is, from after the first one, I saw Jess a day or 2 later and told her all about it. And I told the girl hosting it that I was interested in maybe hosting one myself, because you're not really supposed to go to one twice, because by then you sort of had the experience, you know what it's all about, all that stuff. So, but she did invite me again because she had a last minute cancellation, and I went to another one just to sort of have, like, round out the experience a little bit more before trying to take it on ourselves. And it was her last one. She was moving. She was giving up that space and was kind of sad about it. She had done 2 years worth of dinners every month. And so I said, okay, I'll take it from here. and it was, I often do, I'm with my clients one-on-one, you know, like, I have these talks about life. I like going there with people, getting deep with people too. So I loved the idea of having a whole bunch of them there, and ones that have never crossed paths, even in my studio, you know, and then with 4 people from Jess's life that have never crossed paths. It's really, really interesting to see the connections that blossom out of it. At the end of each dinner, you know, people say they want to come to another one, and I say, sorry, you're going to have to go out and host your own. And I tell them, like, find a friend, a co-host who's got sort of different circles of friends, you know, and go for it. Like, there really isn't that much to it. There aren't that many guidelines. It's really like, can you host a dinner party and can you think of some interesting questions? And that's about it. And so we've also bounced around the idea of having, like, our own separate co-hosts. You know, like, if I'm out of town, I'll send a friend to host the dinner with Jess or something. That's never unfolded quite that way, but we have sort of challenged people to go off and try it, and
friends have, and people haven't.
And people have tried it with their own friends and family, but they've come back with funny sort of experiences of how that went, and it would maybe get a little too heated, or people aren't as respectful to just sit and listen. You know, they're going to talk over each other. They're family, you know, they're friends. They're used to doing that. So I think the real challenge is to, you know, find a co-host, or even if you do it on your own in a small way, invite some people you normally wouldn't sit down with, and just bring up some different kinds of questions other than talking about work and other than really, you know, fluffy small talk. It creates a space where it's safe to say what's on your mind and speak your truth. And we tell people, obviously, there are no wrong answers. And say what you think today. And, you know, some people have 3 answers to that question. And, this is what I should think, or this is what I was taught to think, but this is kind of how I'm questioning it. And this is what I'm exploring now. And so there are a lot of sort of loose-ended answers and some total I don't knows, but they leave hearing 9 other people's responses on it. So they've maybe related to 1 or 2 of theirs, and are taking that home with them to think about.
Cool. Well, how can people get in touch with you and find out more about what you're doing?
I was laughing when you sent us the application for this podcast. This is like website, Facebook, phone number,
none of those things. Instagram.
We have an Instagram account, and that's about as far as we've gone with it. We've toyed with making this a bigger thing, but we keep coming back to, we like that it's just a small, intimate gathering where we just make people dinner, and we do it out of goodness, with good intention. And I love the idea of people just taking the idea for themselves and going out and doing it on their own. But yeah, our Instagram account is @SharePlatesToronto, and we've just sort of recently started getting that going. So we do have a few posts every time we do one, and people comment on it. And we've invited people from our followers on there, which has been interesting. As
it goes along, we're kind of now 1 or 2 will have like complete strangers, or it seems like we always have someone who's already been to the dinner that we reach out to if we're trying to fill that final slot, just with dates and times working out. And we're like, hey, you went, like, thanks for coming to the dinner. Whoever you told and they seemed excited, do you think that they'd want to come? So we've had complete strangers that we don't even know come to the dinners now, who kind of have not been vetted, but like
they've a referral from somebody who's been.
They seem interested in it, not just some random person that like isn't interested.
And so that keeps it super interesting and exciting for us, because it's not our best friend sitting right beside us; it's our friend's friend who's excited about it. And we've done that a few times, and it's been really neat. And yeah, one of the girls that came from just commenting on Jess's Instagram said, I'm into that. I'd love to come to one. And she was fascinated. I sat right beside her, and she was, it surprised us. And I like having that kind of open policy. And, the people we seem to attract are the people who are open to it. So yeah, find us on Instagram, I guess.
Well, I hope if people who are listening, I hope that if they decide to do this, that they will share that with us and take you guys up on your challenge.
Yeah, please write us and share your experiences. We'd love to see how it goes for you. And
I'll let you guys know when this interview is posted. Maybe you can check in on the chat and the talk, and you can it'd be great if you responded.
Totally.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we're all ears if people have questions about it. A lot of people ask us specifically for the list of questions, but we make it up every time. We throw in old favorites, but while we're making up the meal as we go, we're also making up the questions. So it's everyone is different, and it really, anything's fair game. So it's really not that hard. A little nerve-wracking in the beginning, but like I said, now that we've done 11 of them, it's
seasoned pro.
I'm sure we'll continue to get some surprises, but I look forward to it.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us. And I just want to remind our listeners that the Get Inspired Talks podcast is part of the Get Inspired Talks. And so please check out the website at getinspiredtalks.com and check out SharePlates on Instagram. We'll have links to all of those things in our show notes if you're listening on SoundCloud or iTunes. Thanks again, Ryan and Jess.
Thank you, Rod. Nice meeting you.
Thanks, Dad. My 2 favorite men.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks for calling.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
You too.